I'm going to ask about Saul and also Pets. Is it a situation where those guys have shown that maybe they can offer some things in other areas besides just punting?
Yeah. I think Adam's a guy that is really talented. He's a really good athlete. He's a longer guy, so when you do get into some of those windy games and things like that, like he's got a powerful leg. He's a 6 foot, 4.5, 6'5" guy that's got like a 37-inch vertical jump. So he's athletic, as far as that goes. He went to college and was a combo guy when he first started at Illinois State. So he's a guy that definitely talented enough to be able to do a number of different things. He's super, really efficient as far as a punter. Like he can get the ball off, and just as a coach, when you get a guy, he's 2-0 or better all the time. Like it's hard to be able to get to the block spot with a guy like him just because of how fast he is. And he's really improved his mechanics. His mold and his drop is way more consistent right now. So he's really challenged and done a good job. I mean, McAllister, we feel like is way better right now than he was a year ago. But Adam's really, I think, done a good job here the last 2 weeks of kind of coming into his own and improving.
But again, if Boise was tomorrow, Jack would be your guy.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably where we would lean right now. Just he's got game experience. He's played for a whole year, but it's a really good competition right now. Like I said, Adam's done a good job too as well.
And with the Holby situation, knowing that you've got a right-footed kicker and a left-footed kicker, it looks like Jack is the one that's kind of handling both.
Yeah, he's done awesome. Like that's the one thing that I think that is, really undervalued. He's become a really good holder, like really good. I mean, we're getting laces all the time. He can spin it if we don't get him. He gets it down in a hurry. Those guys are seeing it for a long time. I mean, that's a big deal. If you're a kicker and you can get it down and we can let those guys see it, I think that really helped Peyton out a year ago. And Jack's really, like I said, that's another part of his game that, has gone to a whole nother level. And he understands, like a lot of times punters are really good with their feet and they're not great with their hands. And just the whole holding aspect, I think, really helps him be able to become better with his hands.
With Giles limited, how has that affected both the kick return game and the punt return game?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got really good depth in the punt return game. I mean, J-Mac, Boston has done a really good job there as well. J-Mac's super reliable. I mean, we call it the longest 6 seconds in sports, right? When that ball's in the air and you're trying to track it down, like there's a lot of technique and a lot of reps and confidence that go into those guys being successful. And I just think J-Mac's really bought into it. Rome's a guy that can go back there and he catches punts for us every day. Boston's a guy. We use Jeremy Bernard back there. So those guys are all four. Like those would be our 4 punt returners, with J-Mac going first. And then, once we get Giles back here, like he's a guy that we can insert in there too as well. So we feel good there. Kick returner wise, obviously Giles and CD were both really good kick returners for us. So, we got some work to do there. We've trained a lot of guys. There's a number of guys, even some of our younger true freshman guys that I think can, help us there too as well. So we're going to sit here and we'll sit down and decide who we really think is the best guy and go with it. But I still think like a guy like Jeremy Bernard's been really good there for us here early on. Daniel Nagata's, was up in the league leaders a year ago at Arizona State in kick return. So we got some capable guys to be able to return kicks for us too.
How much does the return game factor into the recruitment process? Like you mentioned Gata, I mean, he did that at ASU. You look at a guy like Tayshawn Lyons, he did that a ton when he was in high
Keith
school.
Reynolds, all those guys, I think, early on in your career, like where do you make your mark at? It's usually going to be on special teams, and I think whether that's returning punts, returning kicks, covering punts, all those guys, can, have some versatility, and they're dynamic guys, and you want to use those guys, on your special teams. So we've developed, at this point right now, I feel like probably 5 what we call danger returners, the guys that are the primary returners, and then 4 guys that would be our off returners. And those are the guys that we rep day in and day out. And then I talked to you about the punt returners. Those top 4 guys are the guys that we feel really good about.
And the kick guys, you just feel maybe it's by committee at this point?
Yeah, like I said, I think it's guys like I'd be surprised, but it's probably going to be guys like Jeremy Bernard, Nagata. Those would be the guys right now that we would look to first. I think there are some younger guys in there that we're considering seriously. At this point, it'll just be one of those things that if we feel like, hey, the ball security and they can handle the moment, then we'll roll with them.
You might have just mentioned this, but do you feel like you've got either kicker or punter situation settled at this point?
Yeah, I think we're super close. The competition's been good. I think Grady right now is a guy that we feel, has been the most consistent for us since really this has gone on since last spring, between him and Addison. And Addison was a little bit inconsistent towards the end of the spring and maybe early fall camp, and now he's come on here since the last scrimmage. He hit a 52-yarder in our last scrimmage, or in our first scrimmage, I should say, off it, and has been way more consistent here too as of late. Grady's always had a big-time leg, like the power, in his leg is really good, and I think he's really done a good job now, just as with some of the details and becoming more accurate off of that, and for our guys, they just got to be able to do a good job and come out and be consistent, and I think Grady, just his whole mindset since Peyton's left is that, hey man, I want to be the guy, and I just think he's taken a different approach. When he first came in here, he was hoping to kick off and maybe contribute a little bit, and now it's been where, hey, I got an opportunity here to be the guy, and I think he's probably been the most consistent guy for us since even into last spring.
And at punter, is Jack